All right. Nick's back. What's up, Nick? How you feeling, buddy?
Been better, but I can power through it.
All right, good. And we've got Trenton. Trenton, do you have an intro? Yeah, you do. Okay, perfect.
I might actually.
I'll read it here. Trenton Bodin. Trenton Bodin is the director of technology at A Brilliant Tribe, the marketing and coaching platform founded by me. He's an expert in CRM systems, smart plans, AI prompts, lead generation strategies, meta ads, Pokemon cards, helping real estate agent professionals build marketing.
Any video games in there?
Convert. He's really good. He's just an all-around amazing guy. You're gonna love him. He's got some really cool, practical, and powerful things and ways to use AI. All right, Trenton, Nick, take it away.
Okay. Hey, everyone. Thanks for still being on. I'm sorry I was under the weather and needed to. Tristan made me hang up and go get some rest. So he loves me. Trenton, thanks for being here, man. So I'll just let you take it away and I'll interject as I see fit.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on here. I won't go too much into, overwhelming everybody anymore. There's been some great stuff this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you guys are at. I would love to hear, though, in the chat, what is your guys' favorite topic so far? Or what stood out to you about AI? What is that difference maker that's really, really connected you to realize, whoa, I either need to be in it or I need to, start changing some things so that I can be in it some more. So would love to hear that. One of my favorites was Real Estate Content AI, just starting it off, seeing all the brand new stuff that they had. I also liked Austin's talk on syllabi. I thought that was great. I had to step out for Barry, so I didn't get to quite see that one, but would love to hear you guys.
I'm watching Barry's too, because I feel like Barry's might relate a little bit to what you're going to talk about.
Yeah, so, I'm going to kind of focus on, how do we really keep that human touch that is so important within using AI. And so, I could bore you guys with a lot of different prompts that I usually teach with. There is one that I will hit on a little bit later. I am going to talk a little bit about midjourney at some point, because I think that that's a very underutilized service, and to where they now animate some of their images have actually turned out pretty decent. And so I want to share that here in a second. But what I really want to focus on, like I said, is that human touch, and what are we doing to make sure that we're personalizing a lot of these things and not just asking AI to do something and then just sending it out. Because I think that's the biggest mistake we're making, is that a lot of agents, or just anybody really, is going to go into, a ChatGPT or to a Claude or to a Gemini and say, write me this. And then they copy and paste that and put that directly into their, listing description, social post, whatever. I couldn't tell you the last time that I've ever done that and taken that first response. Like, it just is impossible. And so I want to make sure that we are making sure that everybody is sounding less robotic, for sure. And because if you can't tell that something was written by AI, or if you can tell, and there's a lot of times where you can tell that that email was written, that post was, that's a fake image. And so now we have to really think about how can we make sure to personalize those things. And so, it's incredible, like, what AI can, really do for us, but without the human touch, it's really just noise at the end of the day. And so, I want to make sure that we're thinking about, it's not just about who's using it, but again, who's using it, the AI, and blending it with that authenticity that we so need to put out there, because that's really what's going to separate that top 1% of agents from everybody else here. And so I have an example of, if you think about music, and AI can, pretty much generate every note, every instrument, but without like the true musician there, it's just sound. And so that's what we need to focus on with using any type of thing from AI, is making sure that we're using that human touch to turn that sound into a song. And so the same thing here works for real estate side of things, mortgage side of things, any just everyday life of, it's all just noise until you truly make it meaningful. And so I'm curious, drop this in the chat, everybody. Who's here has got an email or text that really felt 100% automated and cold? And then what did you do? Like, do you just ignore it? Do you
usually I think being real estate agents and we use a lot of these tools to begin with, I think we're better at detecting that than the average person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because we tend to use it or gravitate towards using it so often. You know, my favorite thing is right now is I can tell when someone uses the ChatGPT because for a long time it was the dive and the delve into things, and you knew right away if that was it. Now you start to notice if there's random things that are bolded, and so like this is bolded now, this is bolded now, this is bolded now, and I'm like, well, that clearly, yeah, and so people are going to recognize that. And so what are we going to do to kind of overcome that? And so usually we either fall into kind of one or two categories, and that's usually over automation, which is then where you start to sound robotic, or no automation at all. And now you're just wasting hours and burning out. In fact, I was coaching one of these agents recently, but she was terrified to use AI because she thought it would make her sound and look fake. Well, after we set up one of our smart plans with her personally layered in, she told me that it actually sounded more like me now because I'm not rushing. And that became the balance that was ever so needed for this specific agent to be able to respond via smart plans, and making sure that she had the automation in place, but still had that human sound. Because AI really doesn't erase your humanity. It gives you the space to actually use it. And so that's what I want to make sure that we're really focusing on is no matter what we're doing, we're still putting that human touch. And so I'm going to kind of walk you through of how we can kind of do that for each of these areas of the business that you guys are also focused on. And so, like I said, I don't want to necessarily give you another tool because you've already kind of gotten a lot of tools today. You know, I'm sure that you guys are probably going to go back and have to rewatch a lot of it just because you're going to make sure that you didn't miss anything. And it's okay if you did miss something. Because it's supposed to overwhelm you. It's supposed to show you all this potential that's out there, and seeing if you're either taking advantage of it or it's showing you the 1% of agents that are and why they are being so successful at it. And so there's 3 different frameworks that I want to kind of focus on, and that's personalization at scale, consistency without burnout, and then giving you kind of an emotional edge. And so if you can kind of master these 3, then you won't really be overwhelmed by AI, and you'll start to really feel empowered by it. So as you've just heard those 3, personalization, consistency without burnout, and emotional edge, I'm curious in the chat, you know, which one of those do you feel like you struggle with the most? Is it the personalization, being consistent, or having emotion in your content? And so drop it in the chat. Let me know. I'm curious, and I'll kind of go into the personalization part here. And what I think what I miss the most in when I'm using AI for these things, definitely not the emotional advantage, because I'm going to show you how to overcome that one. The personalization, that one is another one that, because of the prompts that I'm going to show you, why those work so successfully. I would say consistency without burnout for myself is probably the one I struggle the most with, because you have to keep doing it. You can't just do it one time. And once you kind of get into that repetitive pattern, then things start to work out a lot smoother here. Because one of the things that I started doing, let me see if I can pull it up real quickly. And
I
this
would
is
probably guess the 2 are probably consistency and personalization, because you want to make sure that you're not too vague.
That's true too. I was seeing consistency kind of here throughout the chat, and you know, depending on what it is, but I think that those are kind of the big ones here. And so I'm gonna never share my screen on this, so let's see how this works. Share screen window. So what I'm gonna share my Instagram profile really quickly, because I started to use AI for this. But again, it fell off the wayside a little bit because of consistency. And so I started to have, I'm actually 1 post behind, because I should have a personal post here. But what I started to do was
You're slacking off, Trenton.
I know, right? That consistency, I was starting to get burned out, I think. And so one of the big things I was starting with was, you know, giving a prompt for my community to follow. And then I was trying to give them a motivational quote, and then I gave them a personal touch here. And so I started to repeat this process each and every day. And again, I was using AI for it, but I was also using a personal touch for it. And so I kept, you know, putting my personal photos in there, making sure that I was focusing on different things for conversion. You know, lead generation is a big thing that I work on. And so this is where it's kind of where if you have that consistency, it starts to work out for that. And so that was a big piece of what I was focused on there. And now let's see how I stop the screen. There we go. I've never used StreamYard.
I think a lot of people have problems, or not problems, but trouble with creating that cadence that you have. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people want to post to Instagram just very
casual,
like they just want to do it, like when oh, I got to post something. But you've created a way where it's like personal business, personal business. So you have it all planned out, and I think it's hard for a lot of people to do.
Yeah, and so you can take that same approach, but cater towards your business. So maybe you're focusing on your specific clients, then maybe you focus on a community, then you focus on your personal side of things, and it's a way that you can continue to have that built out. And I started to make it into a 30-day plan. I was building out things days in advance, had it ready to go, had it all scheduled, but then things come up and I fall behind. So how do you get back onto that consistency there? And so we're just trying to make sure that what I'm going to go through here, probably in the next 10 minutes, is the way to simplify a lot of this stuff. And so make it a little bit easier for you guys as well. But the next thing I want to talk about, like I said, that was the personalization part of it. You might be thinking, if AI wrote it, how can it be personal though? Mm-hmm. Well, I just said this earlier in a different training I was on. Any AI is only as good, and it's really, if you think about it, is truly an intern. And so if you want your intern to know what to do, you have to teach them. You have to train them. So one way to train your AI is use a tone library. Maybe use some notes from your CRM. Use examples of how you phrase things. Because then once you start to do that, these things will start to fall in place. And so an example of something AI might show is, happy birthday, hope you have a great day. Well, how do you personalize that? Now it becomes, happy birthday, Sarah, hope Jacob crushed his soccer game this weekend. One small detail there. Yeah. All of a sudden, now it's, whoa, she remembered one thing about my kid having a soccer game. Now she's caring more about that. It's not just about happy birthday, like you're going to get from every other person. Yeah. And even on my birthday, I just had, I thought about that. I was like, happy birthday, happy birthday. Oh, happy birthday, Trent. Here is da-da-da-da-da. Hope you have this. And I'm like, that's personalized. I felt that was different. And so how can we utilize that into our business? Well, this is exactly how, because a small little detail there is going to really change the game. And so I just want to make sure we can be able to think about that. And so how do we get to that approach? Well, like I said, building a tone library. This would be, let's make a Word document, and then we're going to put it into kind of like into AI. And this is where maybe paste 5 of your own emails that work out for that tone. Maybe you're asking AI to rewrite follow-ups in your voice. That's a great way to do it. Start to provide examples. Maybe you just want to focus on making sure you add one human detail from your notes before sending. You can have all the AI planned out, but you still just have to go in there and just personalize one little thing. And so if you guys think about this, think about one client you worked with this year, and what's one tiny detail that you know about them. Is it the pet's name, a kid's sport, a hobby maybe? Nick, just shout it out for me. What's that one client? What's one tiny detail you know about them that you can now drop into a message?
Yeah, I think that there's also a balance between what's a little bit too personal in terms of what you remember, and what you should remember, and what maybe you shouldn't remember. Does that make sense? So I feel like it's okay to remember the names of their kids, but maybe you don't remember the name of their dog. Maybe you just mention the dog, that they have one. You know what I'm saying? Like I was reading this article about the difference between being personal and just too personal. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, you have hundreds of clients. You're not going to remember that that my dog's name is Kevin. Well, maybe you would if it was Kevin, but yeah, but I think, I think that things that you should remember: birthdays, kids' names, kids' ages, kids' birthdays, that type of stuff.
Yep, totally get that, because it's not making that it's like a manual thing, but it becomes intentional. And so it also makes you unforgettable as well. And that's kind of where these little nuances that you put in there are going to help you stand out, and they'll remember you. Now, if we switch over kind of to the consistency part of things, you know, we have to realize that AI really creates that nice baseline, but you're going to reuse kind of your best touches here. So like if you have to make 25 videos, I get it. You might burn out, but you don't need 25 videos. You need one great video that you can then use 25 different times. Now, maybe it's a slight difference in each one. Maybe you put a little intro differently here. Maybe you use a different part of the hook here. And so an example here that I had for one of my agents, they recorded a 45-second video. And it was something like, hey, I'm Mike. I just wanted to introduce myself so you know I'm not a bot. And that little simple line, you could reuse that for every single lead for a good 3+ months. And you have to realize that that is what's going to help stand out. And so I also wanted to mention this. If you guys aren't using video in your text, and I don't know how many agents are, but the agents that I speak to that are the ones that are standing out. And think about your automated text that goes out. Hey, this is Nick from XYZ. I just, wanted to follow up on your Facebook post or whatever it was, great example. I couldn't even think of what to say. It would have been the most automated thing that you send to everybody in basic. And I had trained all my inside sales agents on my last team to create an intro video. Doesn't have to be more than 15, 20 seconds. Send out that text as the second text after you just sent out your personal text, like a bomb video, for example. You can include it in a lot of your CRMs to be able to use video messages as well. Sending out that personal video, it doesn't have to be, hey, Nick. It could just be, hey, I just wanted to introduce myself, show you that I'm a real person. I specialize in this area. Let me know if you have any questions, real estate related or just about the community in general. And you send that video out, a minute after you send out your automated text, because one, you want it to sound out, it doesn't come out immediately. This way you at least give it a little 1 to 2 minute leeway that you're recording it.
Right.
But it's a great personal touch there. And so that one video, now all of a sudden you just stood out from the 100 different agents that have already reached out to them.
Plus, also, once someone sees your face, you start building trust.
That too. Maybe it's relatable. Maybe that they can understand your personality.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big one, because some people might desire a nice bubbly person. Well, some people also might desire more of a professional background. Depending on what it is, that's going to help you stand out there. And so I do want to challenge you guys all to do that. Record one 20-second video intro. This can be included as an autoresponder. This could really be your first text if you wanted it to be. But then start with that. Then you can start to post it even on on different platforms as well. Even if it's not specifically for that intro text, but just one 20-second video that's going to show you and set you apart from the rest. And so I just want to make sure that you guys have, if you can reuse it again and again, definitely do that. And so I do want you guys to think about this one part here. If you had to record one 30-second video today that every new lead would get for the next 6 months, what would you say? And I want you guys to write down you guys don't even have to put it in chat, but write it in your notes, the first line in your notes that you're thinking that you would say. Nick, what would you say there? What if you had one 30-second video every new lead would get for the next 6 months, what would you say?
I think it depends on also where the lead comes from too. So you might have to record several, because that's how you can be personalized without having to re-record every video without their name. So like if someone comes to you through Facebook, mention that. If someone comes to you through, searching you on Google, mention that. So I probably would say something like, off the top of my head, hey, how you doing? I just wanted to reach out to you to let you know that I'm not a bot. I love that word. I love that line. Thank you for visiting our website. It looks like you found us through Google. So I appreciate you stopping by and looking at some houses for sale, something along that line.
Yeah, and I love how you just mentioned that depending on the source. So yeah, you might need a couple, but the fact that they came from Google, why would you not reiterate that?
You can be personal without using their name. That's my point.
Totally, yes, and I think that's a great point there as well. And it goes back to not remembering their dog's name or their kid's name. but it's I hope your son had a great soccer game this weekend, instead of saying, I hope Josh had a great soccer game this weekend or something. At least that way it shows that you're remembering them. And so this is going to kind of transition into that last piece here of the emotional side of things. Because if you're not showing any empathy within any of the posts you're pushing, why should you continue to use AI if that's not coming across? And so I want to make sure that we are focusing on what that persona is and how we can cater directly to them. And so one of the examples here that I have is, AI might start to flag, and this happens in the CRMs a lot of, hey, this past client just looked at homes again. Well, their auto email that's going to go out for that probably gets ignored. Maybe you send out a human call. Hey, I saw you're browsing again. Want to talk options? That's going to give you some trust and conversation there. But are you really going above and beyond and actually hitting with that emotional piece of it? And I didn't really get that from that example because it wasn't anything that was, it didn't hit them. And so one of the things that I'm going to show you here, one of my prompts that I always use is, what are their frustrations? What are their fears? What are their desires? They feel trapped by a high rate. Well, their fear of losing equity. What's their desire? They need more space for kids. It's not just, hey, I see you're browsing again. Hey, are you finding any homes that are, working out for your current situation kind of thing? And so I'm going to share my screen one more time and walk you through kind of what this persona looks like. Let's see, share screen. And I'm using Claude for this specific example. I use ChatGPT a lot just because I've trained ChatGPT a good amount, but this whole GPT-5 is just totally driving me crazy that it just seems so stupid, that GPT does, and it's really creating more work than what I need to be doing. Did this share? I can't tell.
Not yet, no.
Oh, is this okay? Let me try it again. Share screen. There we go. Okay, so this is kind of a longer prompt here. Let me just hit the edit button and see if I can pop it up.
Yeah,
okay.
Make sure you give people an opportunity to take a picture of that there.
That I'm actually going to
drop in the chat.
Not delete. I thought I just cut it, but no, we're gonna go here. I'll post it as a comment just so you guys can see what that looks like. It is one full prompt here. I put two prompts into one technically, and this one main here is I have it acting as real estate agent, probably for you, most agents on here. Help me understand this could be any type of client, first time home buyer, 55 plus, move up buyer, those type of things. By answering these questions, assuming the solution is to, hire a real estate agent probably is the number one part, but then purchase their first home or downsize their home, whatever that is, put that in there. And then again, we're asking what their problems they are, their feelings. And so I'll show you the results here in a second. But then the last part I do is I also wanted to do a 10 frustrations, 10 desires, and 10 fears in that format. And so it actually created this graphic.
Yeah,
I wasn't even expecting that. I was just expecting a little spreadsheet looking thing. But that was kind of nice that popped in there. And it really broke down, it shows you what the problem that they're experiencing, their secondary problems here, what they're feeling, internal questions, what they need to do, what can you say to help them feel it. And so it really breaks down all the different frustrations, desires. So now I can then start to do whatever I needed to do. Create me a smart plan, create me a blog post, create me an email campaign. I want this part distinguished first so that everything that comes after it is going to tie into these exact problems, fears, there's frustrations, all of this stuff that they are going to reach out about. That's that personal, that's that emotional advantage that we're trying to get them to, or the emotional edge, not even to be able to be in front of these clients. And so if we can get this down, that's going to be a great start to what we need to be doing here. So definitely take that prompt and reuse that. This can be used in ChatGPT. This can be used in Gemini, any of that. But copy paste that, put that in there, and that's how you should start every single anything that you're building out. And if it has to deal with someone else, so if it's a mortgage lender that you're trying to work with or partner with, Now it might be act as a real estate agent and help me understand a mortgage lender by answering these questions. The solution is to work together or something like that, or cross promote. And then it'll break that all down for you. So definitely take a look at that. While I have this shared right now, I did want to jump into Midjourney really fast to show this new animation part that they've been doing. You can ignore that these are just sailboats. I'll get into some of the real estate side of things. This was the first one I was showing. But you can see that these are all images. And now you can actually click this animate button and it will animate the images into videos. Now, I thought this was cool. I started playing around with it and I started thinking, okay, what can I do real estate side of things? You know, oh, that's the image. Duh. But then here's the videos. And you can see that some of these people came out through the wrong side of the door. And so you have to watch out for that.
You walk through the door legit.
Yeah, like that one. Now, this one definitely could be used for any type of video. It could be a 5-second B-roll here. Yeah. That's going to work for anything, real estate side of things. And the other part is, and I'll get to it here in a second, you can upload an image and it'll also animate that as well. And so, again, these are all the images they created. Again, I turned it into a video here. Even this one as well, the doors, I can't tell if the door is open or not.
I can't tell. There's 2 doors.
Yeah, and so if it was blurred or something, it might work. Again, this is kind of new. You kind of have to play with it. What I was astonished about was that these people actually look pretty realistic.
People look real, yeah.
And I was shocked because it's never like that. And so, and there was like 4 different examples here. You could tell in the further back, she's a little off, but once you get close here, I mean,
the hair is
pretty spot on. Yeah, I mean, so I was actually pretty amazed by this. And while this might not necessarily be what you're looking for, here's where now I've taken some of these images of searching for homes in, I don't know, where is this? LA, or probably not. I don't know what city this would be. Long Beach is what I had used for this. But again, this would be a good, a good story background, a great way to create something simple into video. I did this one for Tristan. We were trying to figure out if we could use just a person reading a book. Like this one right here, I think was probably the best one where the pages aren't flipping by themselves. But again, it shows that it's possible. I tried one with my dog. Obviously, he doesn't have a tail. But the one I thought was the coolest was this one right here. Cool. And I posted as a personal photo of mine. And this is actually how he would act, how everything was very natural about this. And that was the image I uploaded. So definitely take a look at this Midjourney. You can kind of see I tried some other images with my mom back when I was a model back in the day. That one actually didn't work out too well, surprisingly, but or the video, not the modeling, but the video part. But yeah, so I started to try to do a couple of these, and you could just see that the potential is there. But the ones that I really liked the most were definitely these 2 real estate focused ones.
Yeah.
Because this works for anything. Now, obviously, make sure your images don't have a pool in the front yard, kind of like that one.
Yeah, some people have certain preferences.
You never know, right? And so definitely take a look at this and see if this is something that you guys want to do. Again, that's Midjourney, midjourney.com. I'm just trying to find where my stop share screen is to kind of wrap that up. But what I do want you guys to kind of take away here is everybody today has showed you all kinds of tools. I wanted to kind of show you that leadership behind it and how we can really making sure that we're putting our touch into all of these AI things. Remember that you don't need to do everything. You don't need to be everywhere, but you need to blend with AI with who you already are. And I think that's super important there because at the end of the day, AI will open up the doors, but your human touch is going to close the deals. And so I want to leave it at that. And hopefully this was a little bit helpful here. Enjoy those I guess it's prompts technically, but it was one prompt that I gave you guys. But
it's a good one.
It was helpful. So now I'll kind of kick it off to let you kind of close it out. Nick.
Yeah, I hope everyone had a great time. I know there's a lot of information that was shared, so you're going to have to go back and rewatch this on our YouTube channel. I think it was streaming on YouTube, so it might be available to watch immediately. But we'll also edit it together, and they'll probably chop it up into little pieces for each segment to make it easier to digest. But Sorry I couldn't be on the whole time. A little under the weather, needed to relax. But Trenton, that's been awesome. I'm definitely going to have to rewatch it and rewatch a lot of the other segments as well. And thanks everyone for staying with us for 3 hours. That's a big ask for us for you to do. And you could be out selling houses, but you're absorbing all the content. So that makes you better. So hey everyone, thank you so much. We'll see you on the next event. Have a great day.